Hey everybody, this is Kevin from Fort Orange Woodworking. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make these awesome rustic wine racks. These things look really cool, they make great gifts, and most importantly, they cost me $0 to make. I built these using reclaimed pallet wood and reclaimed nails. So if you feel like making one of these, the only thing it's going to cost you is a little bit of your time. And if you don't feel like building one of these, you can head over to my Etsy shop and purchase one that I've already built. Maybe check out some of my other stuff. And while you're at it, grab one of these awesome, super comfortable Fort Orange Woodworking t-shirts. One more thing. During this video, you won't notice it, but I make a pretty big mistake. I misjudge the height that is necessary for my wine bottles, and I had to make a second video to correct these wine racks that I built. So there's going to be a short part 2 to this video where I fix a mistake that you probably aren't even going to realize I made. So stay tuned for that. Again, please remember to hit that subscribe button. I hope you enjoyed the video. One last thing, if there is something that you want to see me build, I'm up to the challenge. Leave it in my comment section and I'll see if it's something I can do. So enjoy the video. I'll see you in the shop. Take care, everyone. All right, so here is everything that I'm going to be needing to make 4 of these wine racks. I want to use my time efficiently because I'm going to be selling these. So I want to make a handful of them at a time to save time. So what I've got here is 28 of these 26-inch boards. Some of them are about 3 inches. Some of them are about 4, a little wider. I've got them broken up into my stacks. I'm not going to worry about how wide they are. I can use all of them for any of the wine racks. They don't have to be consistent. I've also got a dozen of these supports, and I've got one cut out as a template. I like this shape better. This little axe handle here, aesthetically it's just a little bit more pleasing, so I'm going to cut down all 12 of these on the bandsaw. And finally, I've got these wider live edge boards, and I am going to cut these down to size. It's probably going to be around 3.5 inches. It depends on which boards I'm using for the supports. So these will all be cut down. This is everything that I'm going to need to make 4 of these. I'm going to head over to the bandsaw, get the support cut, and start assembling these. Alright, so I've got the trickiest part of the build complete now, and honestly it's really not that tricky at all. All I had to do was take this top shelf and combine it with the support posts, and I did that by taking the 2 outer posts and creating an insert halfway through my outer posts, and it just slides right in. And for the center post, since it goes to the same depth, I can't do an insert. I could do a half lap or some other type of joinery for that, but honestly, for this type of project, it's going to be hidden, and it's not terribly structural, so it's not a major concern, and you're not going to see it. So all I did for that was I cut a piece off here, and I put some brad nails through, and accounted for the missing thickness of the shelf, and now any top board that I use will just rest on top. So this is only going to be, it's not going to be structural, so I don't have to do any crazy joinery for that. But that is the trickiest part of the build. From here out, this should be a pretty simple process. So I'm going to keep moving forward on that and show you as I go. What I've done here is I have laid out my holes for where I'm going to be inserting my slides for the wine glasses. So these will go this way. Actually, yeah, they'll go that way. Like that, rest underneath, upside down. I've laid out where I want them, make sure I have enough space so that wine glasses won't be touching each other inside the rack, and also not bumping against the sides, which is why if I want to hold 6 glasses, this needs to be somewhere between 24 and 26 inches. Before I drill with my Forstner bit, I drilled some pilot holes with a regular drill bit, just because when I use this Forstner bit, I don't want to tear through the other side. So I've got my pilot hole. I'm going to use my Forstner bit, and I'm going to drill about halfway down and then drill about halfway on the other side to finish it. So I'll show you once. Do this one right here in the middle. I've got scrap wood underneath. About halfway down. Now I've got my pilot hole on the other side. Easy to find. Now I have a nice clean hole with no tear out. So I'm going to finish that for the other 5. Should only take a minute and then move on. There's a couple of ways that you can cut the grooves for the wine glasses. You could use a router bit, you could use a handsaw, you could use your bandsaw if you've got the throat clearance. I do not. My bandsaw is just not wide enough, so I am going to be using a jigsaw with a scroll blade. Works pretty good as long as you keep a steady straight line. Should get decent grooves out of this. So I've got my lines. I'm just going to touch these up with a little bit of sanding. Create a nice little chamfered edge by hand on here, just to give it a little bit of area to rest on. This will actually be the underside. It'll be like this. Make it look nice and clean. For the back supports, there will be 3. The first one, I'm holding this together with just one little bead of glue and nails that I reclaimed from these pallets. And if you haven't seen it already, I have a different video on reclaiming pallet wood and how to prep it for use. So if you haven't seen that yet, please check my channel and check it out. These rustic looking repurposed nails are perfect for this. No need to spend extra money on screws when these will do the job, and they're still perfectly useful. I did pre-drill some pilot holes for these because we don't want these pallet boards splitting. It is just pine, and they are fairly thin, so the pilot holes are going to keep these from splitting in half as we use the nails. Sometimes I may actually use an existing hole that was in place from the nails where they were previously located. When that happens, I still drill my pilot hole, because even if the nail is too big, even if the hole is bigger than the nail, this will still work, because this hole doesn't have to be tight. Only underneath has to be tight. So there's videos on that too about the proper use of nails, and you don't have to drive them through clean wood without holes, so to speak. You just have to, really the idea of the nail is I want to secure this board to this one, so really this one just has to be tight, and this hole could be a little loose. It should be plenty snug, but it's a pre-made pilot hole, so there's no sense in drilling another hole right next to it and risk splitting. Because the underside of the wine rack is going to be visible, if this is hanging on a wall, people can see underneath it depending on how high it's hung. I want to use something a little bit more visually appealing for the fasteners. So what I've got for this one is I've got these rusted out reclaimed nails that I got from a shed that fell that was about 100 years old or so. And these are completely rusted, but they're still structural enough that they'll hold this together. And that's going to give it a nice rustic look. However, I do need to change out my pilot bit so that these nails don't break when I'm trying to nail them in. And one more thing is, although I just kind of slapped them on the back, eyeballed it, for this one I am going to measure where each nail is going to go. So that's going to be part of the process. Lastly, I've got this stop block here so that I can nail these in this way laterally, so to speak, so that I don't have to flip this thing upside down and risk any parts breaking. I could do this later in the process. I could have saved this for last, but I want to just do it now. So I'm just going to measure and nail them in laterally. I am installing the faceplate now, and whenever I select my faceplate, the front piece, I try to find a piece of wood that's got some kind of character to it. So this is a neat one with a knocked out knot hole and an interesting grain pattern. Other than that, it's fairly clean, and I think it's going to make a nice front piece. And it also has some pre-existing holes from when this was a pallet in its previous life, and I am going to go ahead and use that as my primary hole. Before I do that, I just want to get a couple clamps on this so that I hold my position, make sure everything's lined up. Because we don't want to make any mistakes this late in the project. A lot tougher to fix, like that. Okay, now I can probably take these clamps off because that's not going to go anywhere. Finish nailing this in. Since no one is likely going to see the top of this anyway, I don't need to finish it with any nails. It's just an extra step. So I'm just going to go ahead and get this in here with some glue and some brad nails. Now that I've done my dry fit, I'll take this apart, get my glue on, and just brad nail this in. And this will just about be done. I can see that there's a little uneven piece here, so I'm just going to chisel that off. If you haven't checked out my other video on sharpening chisels with budget stones, please check that one out on YouTube as well. That one is up. This chisel, recently sharpened, is super sharp, but still need to clamp this in here so it doesn't hurt me. that is it for this one. I am really happy with the way this turned out. I finished it up by putting a top on it, and I think that this turned out pretty good. I like the rusted nails. Gave it an authentic old finish look. I had to make an executive decision here on this corner because there's a big old chunk missing out of this post, so I kind of angled this off as well, roughed it up quite a bit, make it look like it's supposed to be there. And finally, I put on this really cool live edge top, which I think really sends this one over the edge. This turned out pretty good. I haven't stained this yet. However, I'm probably going to. I have 3 more of these to make with the stack of prepared pallet wood that I have behind me. So I've got a little bit of work to do. I'm going to get to it and finish these all up before I decide which ones I'm going to stain which color. So go ahead and try this. Make yourself a wine rack. It costs next to nothing, just a little bit of time. So as always, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Check out my other videos as well, and I will see you next time in the shop. Have a good one. Take care.